Games Workshop is running 40k like a live service computer game. It has patches, that's good. It has balance updates, that's good. It has season passes where you have to pay to have access to the season's rules, and then you need to pay again to get access to the next season. If you don't know what I mean, have you bought the Pariah Nexus mission deck? The one that is incredibly similar to the Leviathan mission deck? If you have the Pariah Nexus mission deck, have you gone back and played the Leviathan mission deck? You've paid to keep up with the latest season of rules. What's going to be next? Loot boxes and gacha mechanics? Surely they wouldn't. They wouldn't put a random model in a box and you have to buy loads to get the whole set. They wouldn't do that, would they? And 40k has a lot of paywalls to keep you spending as much money as possible to keep up with the hobby. The app is part of that. So let's talk about the Games Workshop 40k app and its problems. Ringing the bell, beef, beef, get your salty internet beef. A thank you to the people who have offered to pay to keep me up to date with the app, but no thanks. I have other solutions. But the problems come first, so you know why I'm switching and what other apps provide a fix to the problems. There's a simple thing of the interface. The number of button presses it requires to see the unit. It can be annoying if you want to check something to go into the army list, go into the unit, go into the melee weapons, and then you get to see the melee weapon. If you had laid out your army list where you've equipped everyone with the correct weapons, then you can click the bunker button, and then you can see an overview of them. That's not too bad, but what I want is to see the unit card image with everything on it. We have those in the codex, we had those in the index. One full screen image would be great for use on a tablet. One of the reasons I want to see everything is so I can figure out if I have the right tools to destroy my opponent's unit. But there is a different app that does that wonderfully. The Adept Roll Mathhammer app. When my opponent is moving 10 immortals with a character that gives them stealth, I may think, yep, I can take that. Well, during their movement phase, I can use the Adept Roll app to check and then find out, nope, I don't even have half the firepower to take out them. The numbers say no. So Adept Roll lets me know beforehand if a strategy is going to pay off. Adept Roll is a Mathhammer app and it is today's sponsor, but it is honestly useful for tournament players or casual players to get to the next level of play. It's designed to give you precise calculations on probabilities for your 40k battles. It saves you the time and effort of doing the complex math. With Adept Roll, you can easily calculate the odds of hitting, wounding and saving, making your strategic decisions based on data, not the feeling that 5 Marines should be able to take out 20 Hormigants. Because that is how it worked in Space Marine 2. It is very quick to use, and if you have an army list on Battlescribe or New Recruit, apps I'll mention a bit later on, you can import your data over to Adept Roll. And it accepts screenshots of the Warhammer 40k app unit entries if you did prefer to use the Games Workshop app. Adept Roll isn't just useful for mid-battle tactics, it is great to use while making your army. If you know the sort of enemy army you're likely to face, it's Space Marines. It's almost always Space Marines. Then you can run the numbers beforehand to know how many you are likely to kill with each of your units and figure out if a plasma gun or melter gun has better odds for you. You'll also be able to run the numbers to know if it's worth taking more models or adding a character to the unit to get lethal hits. If you are going to a tournament event and you know there is a tournament staple unit combo you need to be able to defeat, like the Bully Boys Orc Meganobs were, you can figure out ahead of time to make sure that you have a unit or two that can put a serious dent in them, or can endure their attacks. You can help out enthusiastic new players and show them that, no, in this situation the Cadians would not stand. Well, they would, but they would also die. You can import and export profiles and show the results to people to explain in colourful graphs what should happen. It's an app that's constantly being updated and you can suggest new features. You can download Adept Roll for free on iOS and Android and take control of your 40k battles with powerful insights. That is useful and it should give you the correct numbers, which is not something you can guarantee from the Games Workshop app. For the Deathwatch veterans especially, it tells you wrong information when you're building your unit. It says you can't have a close combat weapon on your shield and Bolterman, which is also an error they have in the codex, but it's one they previously fixed on the app. Now they've remade the error. It says you can't have a Xenophase blade and a shield on the Sergeant, even though you should be able to swap your bolter for a shield and then swap your power weapon for a Xenophase blade. And it also restricts you to only 2 Deathwatch Thunderhammers for a unit of 10. Same as with a unit of 5. It should be 4 Deathwatch Thunderhammers with a unit of 10. These are errors that have been added, errors that are not in the codex. And they're not quickly fixed. It may be that come the next month's update, then they'll be changed. Until then, you have inaccurate information on the official Games Workshop app. And then the money. Oh, the money. So many monies. You have to pay for a subscription to Warhammer Plus if you want to make more than one army. Well, it's a small price to pay, and then you get to see the Warhammer Plus animations, some of which Games Workshop has put up themselves on YouTube. For free. But this small price of a monthly subscription is on top of the small price of the models, and the small price of the paints, and the small price of the mission deck, and the small price of the codex. And I'm getting real sick of the idea that poor people should not be able to play 40k. So you have to pay for the codex to see the unit's rules. This is a separate payment to the subscription. You only get to see your unit rules if you have your codex. So you can't easily check your opponent's ability while they take their turn unless you pay for their codex to see their rules. If you want to use the Imperial Agents units because you play Imperial Knights and you need something called infantry, you have to pay £37 or $60, various other currencies, to get the rules for a couple of your units. And while this price tag is lower if you go through my affiliates, it's still an extra expense. And these are rules for models you already bought from Games Workshop. And if you think, okay, that's fair, Games Workshop is a company that wants to make money off its rules. Most modern war games give you all of the rules for free online, and then they sell models. That is the industry standard. Free rules, free lore, and then you pay for the models and thematic terrain and so on. For 40k expansions like Combat Patrol, you have that. But for boarding actions, even if you bought the big book, you can't see the detachments for boarding actions in the app. You can't build the Deathwatch boarding strike force that you want. And it's haunting. The app called me old. This was in a dream, but I still felt it. And while I can use apps, I just find pencil and paper more reliable. The app insulted me for no reason. This is a legitimate criticism. I'm glad we've set the tone for this video. And Games Workshop's 40k app has missing rules. You cannot see the Legends units that you can use in your game. The Age of Sigmar app has this. There should be a toggle for tournament mode list building, or just follow the Age of Sigmar system and have the word Legends so that you know, although Age of Sigmar then has no explanation of what that means. At least with Kill Team they no longer have a bad Legends classification, but a tournament classified word instead. This at least shows a better contrast between what is intended for tournaments and what is intended for every other kind of game. I have much more to say about Legends in a video that is pinging in the top right. The Games Workshop app also skips out rules that are within the codex that you paid for. Okay, so there are no boarding actions, because that isn't in your codex, but there are also no crusade rules on the app. You can't reference any battle scars or traits, and you can't make an army constructed as if it's going to be for a crusade force. You can't track a crusade army, and you can't see the crusade rules even though they're in the codex that you paid for that you can unlock on the app. You don't get a crusade roster option for that. If you want to play crusade games, then you have to rely on a third-party app or vampires explaining the rules to you online. That video is also just popped in the top right and has info on the crusade for Deathwatch, Imperial Agents, Space Marines, Sisters, and Genestealer Cult. Before my last point, my big problem with the app. I should recommend other apps to use instead. This video is only sponsored by Adept Roll, not any of these other people. My income comes from you, through Ko-fi. I would like some money just to have in a bag so that I can run away in case Games Workshop comes after me for bashing their incredibly weak app. If you can't afford to support me with money, clicking a like costs no pennies and is also appreciated. Click. I don't like just going this is bad without any sort of solution or recommendation, even though this is bad is a fine and appropriate response. Like I did with boarding actions, the book is not a good book. It is outdated at release, has a lot of copy and paste, like a lot. But by using index unit rules and modifying detachments to allow more units, you can have a very fun little game. So this is the alternatives, the suggestions, the modifications, the cope. How we can carry on and still try and play this game, but not with the Games Workshop app. So all of these apps I'm going to mention are free, at least as far as I've used them. Battlescribe has been the go-to for many people for many years after the previous edition's Warhammer app decided to not be good anymore. Battlescribe gives a base set of information that a lot of other apps use, so this may be a good starter app, but others build on the data maybe better. You can use Battlescribe to look at the rules and army lists for older editions, like if you wanted to play 2nd edition of 40k, you can use it to build your army list compatible with that edition. That's really cool. It's pretty easy to use, about on the same level as the 40k app. New Recruit is one of those apps that I believe uses Battlescribe data as its base. You get to see all of the units' rules on one page, which is really useful. It has Legends units, which is good, and there's a toggle to have it off or on, but it doesn't have the correct points for Inquisitor Karamazov. These are just a couple of little things I've noticed. Using this app alone may not work for tournaments, where they often expect you to have the Codex book, or at least the Games Workshop app version to show to your opponent. You know, the one that's got incorrect information, and then you also need to separately show the balanced data slate. But it has Legends, which is good. Administratum is the app that helps with you building a Crusade army and tracking all the things you need to do after the battle. The basic rules for Crusade are free on the Warhammer community website, and I have made a fillable PDF to track everything on one sheet if you want. That is in my Discord group, which you can join, linked in the description. The document is in the resources channel. If you are building an army at home and you don't use apps, the website I suggest is Warpedia. Now this is more of a rules reference site than anything else. It is not strictly an army builder site, but what it has is unit points. All of the up-to-date points. And points are simpler in 40k 10th edition, so adding like 12 numbers together shouldn't be hard, with a pen, a paper, and those calculator apps you have on your little pocket computers, which also seem to have a call function. You can see the whole unit entry on one page, which is really useful. It has little things over different rules, so you can click on it and see what lethal hits does. Sometimes it can take a while to update, like having the Genestealer occult information took more than a month, but that is okay for like a fan site. It works well on computer, unlike apps, but as a website, any smartphone that would otherwise have access to apps should be able to access it. It has updated rules and balance patches. It tells you at the front subpage of each faction where the rules have come from, so if you want to reference it, then you can. If you're not sure if something's updated, it will tell you if it's the index version or the codex version. If a rule came from a supplement book or expansion or a White Dwarf, it tells you where that is so that you could get it if you need it for a tournament. If a unit is Legends, it will tell you it is Legends. If you play somewhere where you get your wrist smacked for having fun and can't play Legends, there is a toggle at the top to turn it off. As well as showing you the whole unit card in one go, it shows you which units a character can join and which characters can join your unit. If the Games Workshop app did that, I wouldn't have spent months explaining to people that the Sisters of Battle Canoness cannot join Retributors. The app would have shown them those rules on the Retributor unit. But that was during the Battle Sisters index phase. It has Crusade rules, and it has in-game random card things. So if you don't have the Pariah Nexus cards, you could go to the Warpedia website and hit start game to make a random mission. You can use it to support your games. And it's free. If you've got this far and you're thinking, well, come on, why are you complaining about the Games Workshop app when we have all of these really good community apps? It's because Games Workshop should not be making it hard to play their games, to have the rules in one place. A digital place, so everyone can access them with a level of trust that the rules they see are going to be accurate. It was great in the early index of 10th edition. We could see everything and check each other's rules. Like, I'm pretty sure that Tau Battlesuits are toughness 5, not toughness 6. I could check. Now we have to trust third-party apps are up to date and correct, and there is no guarantee that they are. So my final point and problem on the Games Workshop app: the Games Workshop Warhammer app does not update to match the balance patch version of the rules. So the official rules on the official Games Workshop app are not the official rules for any kind of play. Like, it shows a Space Marine captain. Well, if I'd unlocked it, it would show a Space Marine captain having a stratagem available for 0 command points when it should be saying -1 command point. It also doesn't include the rules commentary version, say sticky objectives. It doesn't have that. It has what was incorrectly written before. So unit rules on the app say at the end of the turn it can flip. The commentary says it can change who controls the objective at the end of any phase. Who would get caught out by something like that after trusting the app? I could go on, and I have. So rather than repeat myself, you can find out more in this video about Games Workshop not updating their rules. With the apps I've mentioned, I hope you have a great day of 40k.